welcome to Game Dames Vidcast. I'm Cindy and today's game is Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. This game came out in 2010, I believe, for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. And it is by a company or studio called Ninja Theory, which is also responsible for Heavenly Sword. Now, Heavenly Sword was one of the early titles for the PlayStation 3. That's about all I remember from Ninja Theory. But they seem to be very high on combat or action adventure and beautiful graphics and all that. What I really like about Enslaved is that the story really surprised me how there's a certain depth to it. It is also a very beautiful game, and I'm finding myself that I'm really enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, which is excellent. First thing I want to talk about is really kind of the core mechanics and the combat system. The first thing that struck me when I was playing through this game is that this really seems like a platform game a little bit. I mean, it's kind of like a lot of RPGs are based on old pen and paper stuff. This kind of seemed to be based on old, Mario and platforming sort of games where you go through each level. You have to beat, each level, and each level is somewhat similar but has, different obstacles and all that. And it's sort of like that, except, like 100 times better and, of course, visually stunning. And everything is, the story or the game is broken down in chapters. There's 14 chapters, so 14 levels. As you progress through each chapter, there's story elements to it. There's puzzles, and there's combat, of course, that you have to beat in order to progress to the next episode, the next chapter. So the puzzles they can be, you basically just look around the environment and try to figure out what you need to trigger in order to progress. Some of these are really simple, some of these are really easy. Actually, most of them are. I've only stumbled maybe or had to sit there and think maybe once or twice. So they're not like really difficult puzzles or anything, but it's kind of nice to have them anyway. Just has an extra element to the gameplay that it's not just combat everywhere. So I kind of like that. The combat in itself isn't really all that developed, I find. It is, you can say that it's a button masher. You are just pushing whatever button all the time over and over, and you don't have that many combat moves to win. The character progression and the character progression tree is really small, and however, it takes you a lot of points to even get just one skill, so there's that to balance it. I say that the most important stats to level up at first will be your health and your shield, and maybe your preferred special move that you want to concentrate on, that you use the most often, because I really wouldn't waste all my points on trying to fill up the grid for sure, especially since some of these what you need to collect to progress are these spherical or red glowing spheres, and they're called tech orbs. And that's what you need to collect in order to to fill up your points. So some of them you have to explore to find and all that, which is kind of another element of platforming, and it is pretty cool. And it's there's a lot of action adventure games that do this as well, and that in itself really appeals to the explorer side of me. So that's really neat. There's a lot of trophies to this game, so if you're a trophy addict or collector, then this is one of the games that will totally feed your addiction, that's for sure. And the thing about the combat is it's not really flowing that much. Sometimes your character doesn't react fast enough, especially compared to your enemies. The enemies can be quite agile and quick, And maybe that's part of the challenge. You have to strategize quite a bit, which I enjoy, actually. If you try to just, bulldozer through everything and just mash buttons, it actually doesn't work too well. So I kind of like that you need to look around and position yourself in order to attack. However, there's a lot of improvement that could be made to the combat system, and it could have been elaborated into a more in-depth system as well. So hopefully in future titles they will work on their progression and the different moves that you can do, because you can't really do that many moves, and the moves that you can do, you tend to repeat over and over. There are combinations. If you press certain buttons in a certain order, you can trigger combos, so that's also neat, and also a big thing in action games. So so that works all right. The combat system, I don't believe, is one of the strengths. What else? There's a lot of neat little things about the game, especially about the story, and some of the hidden treasures. Those are kind of cool. There's one thing I really love is there is collectible cutscenes. I don't know how to explain them really, but they appear like a floating mask, and every time your main character touches them, there's this scene that comes, or pictures that will appear in their mind, so on your screen, and those pictures are from like real life pictures. They're real photography pictures, so it really kind of gives you this alternate reality kind of feeling to it, and that the game takes place in a different reality than ours, or the futures change so much that it might as well be an alternate reality. So I thought that was really, really neat. And speaking of the future, this game is post-apocalyptic. It does take place in the far future. Well, far, not so very far, depending on the point of view. I think it's 170 years in the future. I'm not too sure. But and the nice thing about that is most post-apocalyptic themed games are very dark and gritty, and scary even. This is not scary at all, and it's not dark. It's right beautiful and lush. It's I was actually watching a documentary on Discovery some time ago, where it said that if you took humans out of the equation, that were no longer in control of the earth, nature would take over. Everything would be kind of a big forest and a big jungle everywhere, and that is sort of how the game is portrayed, how the world is portrayed, and I think that's a really nice touch, and it's really different from most post-apocalyptic themed games, and I really enjoy that. The thing about the story is I think it's a bit more in-depth than the usual action-adventure, because it's actually based on a Chinese novel called Journey to the West, which is quite popular in the East, and I believe there's even an anime or a TV show based on it, so that's really awesome. The characters are quite lovable. I mean, at first you're like, oh, there's just, a girl and a guy. But as you get to know them and you get to see their relationship developed over time, you begin to really care about these people, and that is excellent. That is something that you don't usually see in these type of games. So the role-playing aspect of this game is actually pretty high. It really surprised me. Speaking of the characters, your major character is Monkey, and that's the big tough-looking guy. And he does move a bit like a monkey, actually. He climbs a lot in the way he jumps, and he's kind of hunched over a little. And his story was that his parents were killed when he was very young, and he had to survive pretty much by himself. He doesn't actually have a proper name that he remembers, so he just goes by Monkey, which is what people who trade with him were calling him. And your second character is Trip. Trip was brought up in an enclosed community, and she lived with her father. And the way you meet both of these characters is that they were both stolen from wherever they were and put into a ship. And the Earth is actually controlled by robots called, they call them mechs. And they take the humans and they put headbands on them to control them, to enslave them. And the humans have to do what the mechs tell them, or their brains get melted down or exploded or whatever. So So Trip and Monkey are both on this ship, and they escape. Um, Trip finds herself with this guy, and he's unconscious, so she puts a she puts a headband on it that the Max used to control the humans, and so he has to do whatever she tells him. And she's a tech, so she's able to hack into the headband and modify it, you know, for her own uses. And the thing with Trip is that she's not a combat character. She only has, the only thing she can do is stun Max that are attacking her for a limited time. So you have a bit of time to get to her as Monkey and then beat down the robot before it kills her. But she can't really fight other than that. So she's, you know, the girl who tells you what to do and helps out, and you know, can get through doors and all that, hack through doors, while Monkey's all combat and he has to protect her. So that, and that relationship also develops over time, and as you get to know the characters, at first it's more like, you know, master-slave relationship, but it becomes much more, and which is excellent, and it really explores that dynamic of having to rely to other companions that have different strength than you have. Also, there's a third companion within the story that you get called Pigsy. And Pigsy seems to be a range combat, so he will always be in the back or up somewhere shooting down the enemies while you're trying to fight them. And he's got a grappling hook as well, so if you want to get high or, you know, down places, then you can, you know, hitch a ride with him. And his character, he was a friend of Trip's father. So he's been a long-time friend. He's known Trip all her, you know, since she was a child. So and he's really funny. He's kind of the comedic act in the game, and he's always picking on Monkey. And it's all three of them together in the game is just it's made me laugh a lot, which surprised me. The thing that surprised me about this game is, you know, it's a very cinematic. And once you go through the levels, there's a part in the levels where you have to jump through things. And sometimes you have to hurry up because, you know, a walkway or something will fall down. So you don't have to jump it before the thing falls down or you die. So that's really cool. I mean, there's not much skill to this. You actually just have to push the joystick in the right direction and jump so as fast as you can. I mean, so again, it's button mashing, and it's kind of on rails. It's cinematically geared, so you don't really have much control. However, it's really good for the story in itself because you get to see what's going on between the characters. They have sometimes dialogue when this happens, and you know, they kind of banter with each other or pick on each other or fight. And I don't know, it's a really, really neat experience in that sense. And that's pretty much what is to it. Oh, the other thing about this game is there is a part where you have control of a cloud, which is basically like a hoverboard. And there's only a, you know, whenever you're able to use it, it will say cloud can be activated, and then you activate it. And that's a really neat part of it as well, sort of mini game. It's not a mini game, it's actually useful for boss battles and you know, to get useful items as well, quest items. And the way you control it's really fast. It's kind of like a racing game, but it's a hoverboard, and it's really neat. And that's basically what I had to say about that. Most of the game is really solid. It's a lot longer than I thought. I heard that this game is really, really short. I think it just maybe ends abruptly. But other than that, it's a pretty decent length. I mean, I think if you get it now, it's probably discounted because it's been out for a year and more. So you can, I got this game for $16 on a cheap bin at the video store, so you can probably get it for that much. But if you have to pay, you know, $50 for it, it's not a bad investment, especially if you're going to replay it a few times, and if you want to collect all the trophies and all that. So in that sense, it's definitely worth it. I highly recommend this game. It's not, you know, a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. Definitely a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's highly enjoyable. The combat isn't the greatest, but I mean, you can forgive it if you're looking for a really cool experience and a really cool world with characters that will make you laugh and sympathize with them. It's I really enjoyed Enslaved, so, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. So that's all for today. thanks a lot for watching. Leave your comments, tell me if I missed anything, and we will catch you next time on Game Dames Vidcast. Also, please come visit us at gamedames.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Cendres, that's CENDRES. Alright, see you later. Bye.